What's going on? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive. In today's video, it's a preview video for Baltimore Ravens Week 2. Now, I would have liked to drop this video either Thursday night or early Friday, so expect that from now on. That's on me. But you're getting it today, so appreciate anyone for tuning in, and we're just going to get right into it. Baltimore Ravens, obviously 1-0, just came off smacking the Jets 24-9. Jets are sorry, though, so, could have probably beat a bad team more, so let's get into it. You know how we do these. First, we're going to do our offense versus their defense. Defense is loaded, obviously. We all know they've got Calais Campbell, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Chuck Clark, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams. They got a lot of guys. But a lot of those guys are banged up. Humphrey's banged up. Peters is coming back from injury, so he's not 100%. They lost Kyle Fuller. So, not that we wish anyone to be injured, but them being injured against the caliber of players we have, and it's gonna be a long day for them. Win or lose, it's gonna be a long day for them. They're gonna be running against some of the fastest players in the world. So, who knows how they'll be able to keep up. So there's an opportunity to take advantage of their banged up secondary and trying to get behind them and just making them run. Up front, they're always nasty. They can stop the run. That's how they've always been under Harbaugh. He's one of those guys that you know what you're getting, a physical team, offensively and defensively. And they certainly do that up front. Like I said, Calais Campbell, Justin Matabuke, Jason Owe. They've got a lot of guys, Justin Houston, and they're just going to keep rotating. So they've got some dogs up front. I think based off the defense that we're going to be facing in terms of fronts, the game plan's honestly going to look pretty similar to New England. They're going to be focused on stopping the run early, on early downs. And what I mean by that is based off their personnel. So on first downs, they're probably going to be coming out in a 3-4 base personnel. So that's heavily implying they're going to try and stop the run. And if I perceive how McDaniel wants to attack defenses based off last week, he's probably going to try and pass on that. So if he comes out saying 12 or 21 personnel, which is 2 backs, 1 tight end, which is what we ran a lot of early downs last week, and they come out in a base 3-4, I feel like McDaniel's going to do something similar in terms of how much he tries to pass on early downs, which, there's variable approaches. Would you rather McDaniel just try and still run on a run defense? Yeah, sure, because you want to be able to run the ball on anything, but also he's just doing what he thinks best against that specific defense. So I think that's how we're going to approach it. Is there's probably going to be a lot of early down passing, and similar to last week, lots of motions and play actions to get the linebackers to bite up so they can open the throwing lanes behind them. So, like I said, I think it's going to look pretty similar to how we approached New England last week. And because, like I said, early downs, now third down's a little different, I think. But even then, if on third downs, both teams like to bring pressure and run man coverage. So, like I said, the defenses that we're facing aren't too far apart. So I think, like I said, offensively, it's going to be similar styles of attacking. So offensive keys to the game, play action. Like I said, get those defensive linemen off balance, not sure what's coming, bite the linebackers down and be able to hit Tyree, Jalen, Gesicki, Cedric over the middle, and let them make yards after the catch. Number 2, ball security. Obviously, we don't want to give this good of a team extra possessions. And I mean this probably more in terms of hopefully Tua goes another game without throwing an INT. Although last week he probably should have thrown one, maybe 2. So just a little more secure with the ball. You want that. It's kind of common sense, but I just trying to find the keys gets a little difficult sometimes. And then no fumbling, obviously. And then the third key, threaten them deep and outside. So I feel like most of our passes have been between the hashes or numbers. I'm fine with that, and that's how this offense mainly operates. But I also want teams to be fearful of just a go ball down the sideline. I want them to have to defend every single square inch of the field. And I'm not saying make it a common thing, but just test them and make them fearful of it. Because I feel like right now there's not much fear of an X receiver running a fade and getting thrown. And make him fearful. That's all I'm going to say. So, offensive players to watch. I try and diversify how I approach it. Like, obviously, if I was just going to do our biggest players, I would do Tua, Tyreek, probably Jalen or Chase. But I got to mix it up a little bit. So, I did put Tyreek Hill on this list. Like I said, their DBs are facing some injuries, so I want to see Tyreek run behind them and Tua hit him in stride. Will it happen? We'll see. Number 2 is actually a big player to watch. Greg Little filling in at right tackle for Austin Jackson. He did all right last week. He also ended up getting a little banged up, so it did hinder his play. So it's just interesting to see how he handles becoming a starter. Last but not least, last time we played the Ravens, this guy made a splash play. Looking to see if he can double dip, and that is Big Bobby Rob Hunt at right guard. Maybe he'll get some fullback snaps. That's what I'm looking for. So we'll see what happens there. That's the offensive breakdown. So now our defense versus their offense. We all know how dynamic Lamar is. We all know what happened last year. So what's going to happen this year? I have a pretty good feeling of what might happen. So the Dolphins are still going to run zero blitzes, right? We always do. That's our style of defense. But there's no way that it's going to ever be to that extent that it was in Baltimore, especially when you know how heavy of an emphasis they're going to put on beating it. Not to mention, Josh Boyer did mention in his presser earlier this week that even last year they had good solutions to the blitz. It's just how they executed it. So you know they're going to be ready to execute. And Boyer knows that as well. So they're still going to send the zero pressure here and there, but I don't think it's going to be to that extent. Not to mention, you can really only run those exotic blitzes on second and long, third and long, because if there's threat of a run, it's not great run defense. So you have to first stop the run to get there. But I think in terms of the third downs and long down situations where they want to send exotic blitzes, I think they're going to send a zero here and there, but I think a lot of it's probably going to be a bluff blitz, make them fearful, get their protection set up, and then drop everybody. You see it all the time, and they know that we do that too, but I think how heavy we hit them last year, that we're going to be a little softer in how we approach it, just how I view it. But honestly, who knows? Maybe they come out and run the same exact game plan, and it works just as well. There's really no telling until it happens. So, like I said, I think we're not going to switch up too much how we do in terms of approaching it. I just don't think it's sustainable to run as much times as we did. But shit, if we do it on the first drive and it works, fucking do it until they can't stop it. So it'd be interesting to see that chess match get played out. So quick defensive keys. I didn't have much time to prepare, unfortunately, this week. So hopefully have a little more substance for you guys next week. Comment down below some more things you'd maybe like to hear from me. But defensive keys of the game, pretty basic stuff. Contain Lamar, throwing, passing, scrambling. The dude is the most dynamic probably player in the league. Stop the run. That is huge. That is bigger than honestly stopping Lamar, because you get him the second long, you get him the third and long, force them to pass. You can send exotics. You can disguise your coverages. You can fuck them up. That was the biggest thing to beating them last year, is that their run game was nowhere. They were not able to run the ball. So you force them in passing downs where you can run your exotic defenses that they might not know how to stop. So stop the run, and then defend the pass over the middle. Once again, they're kind of similar to us. They'll run the ball, play action base, get the backers to bite, throw it over their heads. And especially Lamar's best at throwing over the middle. So whether it's Mark Andrews, Devin Duvernay, you need to contain the guys over the middle of the field, make them try and beat us to the boundaries outside one-on-one matchups with our guys, which I like. So those are the defensive keys. Now, defensive players to watch. I had a hard time trying to figure out who to pick. Some of them were a little easier. So first guy to watch is Christian Wilkins. Like I said, he's going to be integral part of stopping that run, but I also want to see some interior pressure. And Christian Wilkins has been balling. He's also actually ended up on the injury report, so let's hope that he does play. This one was the most obvious to me because of his impact last year. Jerome Baker. Last year he was lining up outside backer, on the line of scrimmage. Inside backer, they kept moving around like a little chess piece to help set the edge against Lamar. I'm curious how they're going to utilize him this year. I'd imagine something similar, but just a player to keep an eye on when you're watching the game. See where 55's lining up. And last but not least, this is one I had a tough time choosing between a couple people. Um, the other people that aren't on this list was like Kader Kohu maybe. I guess I didn't think of that many people, but I went with Brandon Jones. He had a great game last year, last year, yes, and then last week as well. He's looked improved in coverage, but we know his ability to blitz and just be a dynamic player, whether it's in the box stopping the run, blitzing, covering, is looking a little better. So he's a big player to watch too, and how he can disrupt this game. So that is it for the defensive breakdown. So now we're going into the score prediction, and it wouldn't be a Dolphin Dive prediction video or preview video without a slightly biased prediction, right? So I do have the Dolphins winning slightly, 27-24 Miami. Now, once again, this is a game, it can very much so go either way. Both teams, I think, are very good teams. Ravens are obviously one of the best teams in the AFC. You know they're going to be well coached. You know they got dogs offensively and defensively. This is a game where if you lose, it's not the end of the day. But obviously, we want to win every single fucking game. So I think the Dolphins can edge this one out, especially with the injuries to the Ravens secondary. Like I said, nonetheless, it's going to be a close game. Both teams are very good. And I'm very excited to watch. Comment down below, what are you looking forward to on Sunday? And until next time, I'll catch y'all.